What's up, otakus? It's your tour guide here. Um, yeah, I'm really just coming on because I'm bored. It's like it's Friday night, and this is like usually the time during my busy week where I hop on, give my thoughts, and we haven't been properly able to uh, kind of do what you would call a normal otaku weekly show because I've been busy picking up books and showing off books. And usually, when we do Otaku Weekly, we're doing a period in time in my collecting history. We cover a book, we attach a song that was, charting during when that book was published. We look back on that period, and it's just a session, just talking about my past, kind of rekindling some memories, and it's very, you know, it's just a very relaxing session for me. Kind of spontaneous, and for me, like, yeah, it's. I think sometimes listening to a song takes you back, looking at a comic book takes you back. Sort of a combination of movies and when you're remembering, this book came out when this movie came out, when this song came out, just that combination of those memories kind of trigger at least nostalgia, at least some sentiment. It does trigger some good hormones for your brains. So I love doing that session. And so, we've kind of run out of budget now, and there wasn't much going on tonight, so I just figured I'd hop on. But we're going to do something a little different, a little special, what I like to call Otaku Weekly special edition. And today we're going to talk about the future of DC comic books. Or I should be more specific. We're going to talk about the future of the DC comic book market. There's a marketplace for DC comic books, DC related titles. And right now, I think across the board, not every DC book, but specifically, I think across the board, Superman books, Wonder Woman books, Supergirl books, Justice League books. These are going to start to see more demand, and you're just going to see across the board sort of higher prices, maybe higher demand for the books. We are kind of at the starting stages of that. I can just see as the DCU gets rolling. Right now, there's a lot of DC books kind of spiking due to the movie spec, and that in turn is just bringing renewed focus on key books in the DC timeline, and just more attention to the older books. I know it's created a little bit of disappointment in the sense that these books are going to go up in value, and had I had more time, I would have been able to, I think, add more of the books that I wanted to my collection. And I'm specifically thinking of the Superman versus Muhammad Ali book. That is a big investment book. It already is an expensive book. But now I think it's going to just become one of those books everybody wants to target and have in their collection. And it's just going to drive up demand and price, unfortunately. So that's like one of the books, the Muhammad Ali Superman book. I told you this year that if we could pick it up, with the $200 budget, we would. And part of me just kind of like regrets that I just didn't get one book for the summer and get that book. But then the other part of me that picked up all this other goodness, which has also legs to really go up. I think actually one of the books has a real chance to be um, a huge investment book. So we'll cover that. I did pick it up this summer. So basically, this video is about me covering what I think will be investment books. And let me clarify what an investment book is, because I think a lot of people, when you think an investment book, you automatically think big book, right? Like a first appearance, or some kind of key event. But oftentimes those big books, like the key first appearances, key events, those are high priced, high valued books to begin with. So when you get them, sure, there's going to be, a lot of buyers are going to want it. Demand's going to push the price up. But in terms of how high it goes, oftentimes, maybe 10%, maybe 20%. Very rarely do you see like a 25% jump, like a quarter. Like if it's a $400 book, it may go to like 600, right? But rarely is a $400 book going to go to like $800 on some of those big keys. Now, I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying you're putting a lot of investment into something that may or may not happen in terms of the percentage yield that you earn. And it really is about what percentage you can earn from the buy-in point. So if you're already targeting books everybody is after with a high price, then you're not going to earn, it's not that big of an investment, right? You want to buy a penny book that will hit $1,000. That's kind of like, that's my kind of definition of an investment book, like at least double the value, right? If you're going to buy a $10 book at the end of this, process, if it becomes a $20 book, you've made a lot of money because you've doubled your money, versus buying like $1,000 book and it going up to like $1,500. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like, you obviously, $500 is more than $10, obviously. But if you have a bunch of the small, big jumps, that would earn you more than just one big pool. So that's why it's like, again, if you're dealing with the lower value books, you're able to pick up a lot of them, kind of have a safety net. Some of those will hit, some of them may not go up. But when you have, versus like $100 budget on a big book where you only get one book, if it goes up, then you've been successful. But how far high can it go up on a big book like that? So I hope I'm making sense. It's essentially, investment 101, find value. Anytime you find value, you're going to make money. And so on some of the big books, they're already highly valued. You might actually be getting, especially in a frenzied market like right now where things are just up, 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 and up, you might be buying in at a very high point, and it may go up a little bit, but the fact that it went up so high, when things cool down or when things slow down, it may go right back down, right? So you got to consider all those factors and really pick the books that you can get cheap and it can really have room to grow. Okay, so with that being said, I'm just going to go over my investment picks. And these are books that I really think are undervalued still. Okay, these are undervalued books, and they have really little risk in terms of buy-in, but potentially big payoff should all this DCU momentum continue for a decade and you have new collectors buying books, educating themselves on what to collect, what to buy. And then you have a lot of some of the Marvel fanboys kind of shifting their focus to start buying DC books and getting into the DCU. And so you have just a mix of older, younger, really young collectors, um, uh, all looking for DC related books. So all in all, it's a good time for DC keys. It's a good time for DC specific big moment type books, like that are related to the movie. For example, Naman Hyung did a short where he was watching the scene where Guy Gardner is talking about Superman's hypno glasses. And that hypno glass book, it's a Bronze Age book. It's forever, it was $1 book. Okay. And no one would have like speculated on that. It's a beautiful book, by the way, but it's Superman wearing hypno glasses. It's on the cover, and that book now, because of the movie, is no longer $1 book. In fact, we don't know where the price of that book will land, but it's on the trending 20. I imagine it'll be a book a lot of people go after this summer, but whether that has legs past the summer, that remains to be seen. But yeah, you're not picking that book up for $1 anymore. That book is no longer an investment book. Hey, what's up, Gordon? Gordon Sisk. Yeah, no books. No books that we picked up today. We are just covering what our investment picks are. These are books that I think have investment value because they're still undervalued, and you get to pick them up now. They'll go up in price, and hopefully you earn whatever return that brings you. Ultimately, these aren't books that, like, if they go up, they're going to come back down. These are books that will go up and stay up and maintain their new value. And that's exactly what happened to that Hypno Glasses book. You had a dollar bin book that is now probably going to perpetually be a $20 book. Has the potential to be more, but I think just with the movie reference, you've created an entire generation that will forever see that key as significant to them. Maybe not to you if you're an older person, but if you're a younger person who's getting into collecting now and you watch the movie and that's what's driving you to collect Superman and all these other things, that's definitely a book that collector would target. So yes, that Hypno Glasses Bronze Age book is now going to be a perpetually $20, probably more. It's going to be a key book now. All right, so with that, we're going to cover some of the investment books. I think, again, these are books in my collection that I've already bought that I got because I just love the books. And because of that love for the book, I'm going to explain why I think, this is going to be a book collectors go after. And it's just based on my own personal preference for what I think has value in the collecting, in terms of the DC catalog, what books are worth picking up and having in your collection. These are some of those books. And again, they're still relatively undervalued for the most part. These aren't books that are trending right now. These are all books that are quite quietly ready to trend, I think, at some point. It may just randomly pick up. Maybe after you watch this video, you might go after these books and that might cause for it to trend. But first and foremost, I'm going to say a book that you should target uh, are DC first issues. Okay. Anything in a series or run, a good example might be Superboy, uh, not the original Golden Age Superboy book, but volume two in the 70s, right? Or late, I should say, in the mid to late bronze when Superboy relaunched with Kurt Schaffenberger on art duties. That book, right? That number one Superboy Volume 2 book from the Bronze Age, that's a book I would target. It's a number one book. And so essentially, yeah, books like that, key first issues of a run, especially the older books, those are going to be ones that just, I think, have collectability as well as, now, are they going to go up, like twofold, fourfold, something like that? No. But those are books you can find, like that Superboy book. I'm telling you, you could probably pick it up for $3 or find it in the dollar bin somewhere. And at the end of the day, I think at the end of this whole, this decade's worth of DC comic book reemergence, you're going to see that book land anywhere from $10 to $20, right? And so that is a rather significant return on your investment. If you're getting it for $1 or $3 and it goes up to $20, that's kind of the performance you want. Obviously, the more you spend and the higher it goes, you make more money. But in terms of just that percentage return, which is really what we're focusing on, right? I want you to be able to get a percentage return, not necessarily spend a lot. What I want you to get is whatever you spend, that you get that return and that yield. So with that being said, I want to basically show you the book you should be targeting is The Man of Steel, this variant cover. Especially with all the Superman hype and the Superman love. There's a lot of Superman books out there, but I would target this one because this one is really the first book that weaves the modern story of Superman. In fact, the story of Superman that we're seeing in the movie is literally connected to this original story. The tone of that, of Luthor being sort of this, business tycoon slash, sort of mad scientist, person who's like working behind the scenes to undo Superman and take over the world. That kind of characterization really takes shape during this run. This also really sets the tone for Superman's origin history. They lean into his adoptive parents, his life in Smallville, and how that molds him into the hero he becomes, right? It's a very linear history. There's Lana Lang is part of his development. His parents are very influential in his development. He's just an all-around. Clark Kent is just an all-around athlete, a student. He could do anything he wants in the modern world, but he chooses journalism because that journalism will keep him close to the big global events, but at the same time provides him a channel to maybe voice sometimes the thoughts and the ideas of Superman. So Clark Kent becomes kind of the reporter voice, exclusive voice of Superman. And, those concepts are kind of cooked in this series, and it definitely kickstarts the modern era that leads to the death of Superman, that leads to all these great stories we're seeing in continuity now. So this, I believe, is a book you want to target. Now, this is already a $10, $20 book, for all intents and purposes. But it's such a common book. It's still, I bet you could go right now to the LCS, look for this book, and get it for like under 10. Get it for maybe 5. Sometimes they're in the dollar bin if you don't mind a bad copy. Sometimes the good copies are in the dollar bin. Whatever. I think I picked up this one for $1. And no, this one I didn't. I have other copies that I picked up for $1. This particular copy I bought off eBay, and I think I paid like 20, $30 for this. No, I paid $40, 40 to $50 for it. But it's the John Byrne signed book. Man, am I glad. So, I mean, get the book. Obviously, if you like get this John Byrne signature, even better. But yeah, $50 for a John Byrne signature right on the S, Man of Steel #1. This is my book, not your book. I'm saying get just this variant cover. But if you were lucky, I say were because I doubt you could get this book for 40, $50 now. Did I see the video where there are 3 printings of Superman 1? Guy found out. Oh. Okay. Had a second print and he unloaded it. I did not see that. What? There's a second printing of this Superman, a Man of Steel 1, or Superman 1 from the Golden Age? Oh no, okay, I see what you mean. The Volume 2 Superman. There's a second print. Okay. That's cool. I may have to get that. That's another book I would target. Yeah, Superman 1, the John Byrne official run. Oh, the original. Dang, I gotta go watch that then. All right. So there's a second print. Superman. Huh. All right. I'll check that out. So yeah, there's our first book. Okay. Get this. And if you get John Byrne's signature on it, even better. But again, don't just get the book. You don't have to try and get the pinnacle of the book. All right, this is another book I would target. Books like this, and these are rather easy to pick up. This one is $9.99 cover price. So if you can get this for cover price, like $10, or if you can get it for under $10, let's say in the dollar bin. Some of these are in the dollar bin. Some of these are in the $3 bins. If you can get this for under $10, you've won, my friend, because books like these iconic milestone books, and this is a big milestone book, these are just long-term collector favorites. They'll always be in demand, and there's a lot of printings of this particular book just because it's a 1,000-issue milestone. And it won't ever be anything more than maybe a $20 book at the end of the day, right? But the potential to have this go up to a $50 book over this decades period is very real. Just because you have this classic, iconic Jim Lee wraparound cover. It's a 96-page comic book. It's Detective Comics 1000. It also celebrates 80 years of Batman. And pretty much a lot of people work on this book. You got Jim Lee, you got Neil Adams, you have, you name it, they've done a panel in here, right? think even Brian Bolland's in this book. There's just a bunch of DC artists who contributed to this book. If I'm not mistaken, I believe George Perez is also a contributor on this book. It's just everybody wanted to work on this milestone issue, so that's what it has. Just a bunch of legendary artists, DC artists who have come back to work on Batman, and boy, that's a beautiful book. Now, my DC Detective Comics is signed by Neil Adams. So go out and get this book. If you can get Neil Adams' signature on the book, even good for you. But just get the book. Yeah, this is definitely a collector's item. And with that being said, also get the Jim Lee Action Comics 1000. Similar concept, right? It's Action Comics. It's issue 1000. It's Jim Lee artwork. That is also I think a $7 book, $8 book if I'm not mistaken. So if you can get it at cover price or less, that's a book you should target and pick up for the same reasons. It's at least going to be a $20 book at the end of this decade. Potential to go up to be a $50 book for like, especially in high grade. I think if you pick them up, get them graded, and they get a 9.8, they definitely will be a lot more than a $10 book in that grade. All right. Continuing on, you got to look at sort of silly, memorable books. And I think right now there are a lot of silly, memorable books from the Bronze Age, the Silver Age, and even the Golden Age. Just funny covers, silly covers, things that kind of stand out as a memorable book. So there's just it's essentially memorable covers because of what's being depicted. And so I have a lot of those here. And this, in my opinion, is just really underrated as not only a piece of cover art, but underrated in terms of its value as well. So what I have here is Action Comics 454. It's the hamburger munching cover. And you got Superman. It's just a ridiculous situation here. More burgers, chomp, keep them coming, gulp, or I'll starve to death. And the waitress there is saying, "What? But you've already eaten enough for an army." And there's just this line of like servers just bringing tray after tray of hamburgers for the Man of Steel, because everybody wants to help Superman. Everybody loves Superman. They want to get involved. We've got very, I guess it was the 70s. You got a lot of mini skirts there. Hamburgers and mini skirts. That's what you get from classic comic books. Another milestone edition. This is Action Comics 500. Ross Andrew goodness. You got another memorable cover because it's an infinity cover, right? And you got again Supergirl in go-go shorts. We love this blouse shorts look on Supergirl. Wraparound cover again. What's not to love about this book? Now, this book, depending on the grade, can really be anywhere from, like a under $5 book to like a $20, $30 book for high grade. And I think whatever grade you get it in, the incremental adjustment in terms of its upward mobility, it's going to, across the grade board, it's going to go up, right? So $5 can probably have wings to go to $20, $30 is probably going to have wings to go to a $100 book. Again, I think this should be a $100 book. I don't see why it can't. It's definitely, it's not the rarest of comic books, but at the same time, if you're a Superman collector, this is the shit you want in your collection for damn sure. With Ross Andrew, beautiful art. All right. This is just personally my preference, but I know there are a lot of people who also love this run. Obviously, when you talk Wonder Woman, especially on this Volume 2 initial run, it's George Perez. And George Perez, he does not only write the story, he pencils the story, and really kicks off Volume 2 with an incredibly masterful origin and transitioning Diana into the modern DC continuity and world. Just a really well-written, scripted comic book. And and so you had a really long run of Perez art on the book, and then he kind of moves out to let other artists do their thing, and then really they get the person I think is one of the top creative talents at DC at the time. They just let him take on the book, and he just does this take on Wonder Woman that absolutely makes you fall in love with her. And that is Brian Bolland. And this is Brian Bolland's first work on the run. And it's an incredible, just sort of like, I'm here, I'm doing Wonder Woman now, and y'all can just suck on these. Oh my goodness, that is Brian Bolland goodness right there, in the form of, like, I don't even know how to describe her. I just want to just say, like, sexy Wonder Woman right there. Boom. It's like if Psylocke had just said, you know what, fuck this Marvel shit, I'm gonna go and become Wonder Woman. That's basically what's happened there, right? Psylocke taking over Wonder Woman as the new Wonder Woman. All right. This is a book that really, it's a key book. It's been teased as a DCU key. James Gunn has said, he loved this run. He drew a lot of the tone of the comedic writing for this DCU world that he's building, especially around Guy Gardner. So this inspired him to go with Guy Gardner as the leader of the Justice Gang. This run also inspired him to insert Maxwell Lord. He comes onto the scene as this, businessman with sort of what seems to be, he's just trying to bring the heroes together, give them sort of this branded, mission. And he kind of controls them as their sort of behind the scenes de facto leader. And it sets the Justice League off on a great, again, this is the post-crisis Justice League. And it stars Guy Gardner and all these other sort of non-conventional DC misfits. Big in this, a big presence on this run are characters like Miracle Man. Big Barda is a big part of this run. Oberon's a big part of this run. And it expands. It starts out pretty core, and then it expands, and it incorporates a lot of weird, goofy kind of offbeat characters as part of this Justice League, but it's fun. It's fun. There are a lot of quirky, sort of, uh, you know, let's just say quirky, fantastical kind of storylines. But at the same time, it's not like, it's a little bit more serious in tone, a little bit more gritty in terms of like the uh, the potential fallouts. So I mean, yeah, just a great run to Target. I think this entire run you're going to see collectors focus in on. They're also going to focus in on the keys. So get keys of this book. Definitely get this book. This book is still like relatively cheap. I think it's hovering around $10 to $20. At that price point, go get it. Like I said, all the issue ones. These are going to be things collectors target. This one especially. We're just getting we just got a taste of the Justice League or Justice Gang as it comes together. And I think right now this all signs are like Peacemaker, Vigilante. These are like characters that are going to be part of the Justice League potentially. I'm not saying they will be. Potentially they could be. We just don't know what this final team or what how it's going to come together. But when it does come together, I anticipate it's going to start out like this a little bit and then disband, and then the Trinity are going to lead it, and it's going to become kind of more like either what we're seeing in Justice League Adventures, which is the animated series, or something a lot akin to the Hanna-Barbera Justice League versus the Legion of Doom. Just all these characters, classic characters on both the villain and the hero side. They kind of pair up really nicely, right? You got Batman versus Riddler and Joker. You got Aquaman versus Black Mantis. You got Sinestro versus Green Lantern. Wonder Woman versus Cheetah. Lex Luthor versus Superman. So you kind of see the Legion of Doom and the Justice League have their complementary like members on both sides of the spectrum. Now that personally is what I'd love to see, like it land there. Like it builds up, it brings all these real goofy characters, but then things get real and the Justice League finally just materializes with the big heroes there at the forefront, and the Legion of Doom. They also have to kind of team up together for some really nefarious plot, and then boom, you got the old Saturday morning cartoon goodness, right? So yes, pick that one up. These are already hot books just because we know we're getting Lobo. We have Guy Gardner, and that's just low hanging fruit right there, right? You just got to pick up books like that. This is really a paired pickup. You got to pick up first the Lobo cover and then they fight, and then of course Guy Gardner ends up kind of just almost takes out Lobo, right? He does a number on Lobo in this book. So go read it if you're curious. But yes, that's one you should be targeting. Again, I think a good price point to pick this up is like $3 to $5 right now. If you pick it up less than $3 to $5, that's good. That's relatively cheap, and these are just going to be fan favorite keys that people want to pick up once Guy Gardner and Lobo have their meeting on screen, and that is going to be sooner than later. All right, this is a book. It's an Elseworlds book. I don't think it necessarily has wings in the DCU, but this is just a classic DC book, and it's never really attained a real high price point. Even though it is a key book, even though it is like a $10 to $20 book. But Kingdom Come, it's a black cover. It's a cardstock. It's got, the basically it's got the spine here. What's the word I'm looking for? The the square bound spine. It's a black cover, like I mentioned. So to keep this in like high grade is going to be a challenge, especially the books. This was a book that people bought and read because it was just um, Mark Wade freaking goodness. But yeah, this isn't any kind of like continuity story. It's an Elseworld story, and there's potential to maybe bring this. There's talk that there might be some kind of multiverse crisis type event that James Gunn is writing and building towards. I don't doubt that. That's more likely than not to happen if you are true to DC books. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, please don't let it be a multiverse story," because they're sick of seeing that shit because of Marvel. But Marvel really copied DC's. Marvel, DC was the first to really do multiverse well, and Marvel capitalized on stuff concepts that came out of the Wolfman Perez run, Crisis on Infinite Earths. They literally just jacked that concept, applied it to their universe, and now people, this entire generation of kids, think multiverse is like a Disney Marvel related thing, when it was just basically swiped from DC Comics. So DC Comics is the true home of multiversal shit in comics, and afraid to do just because Marvel did it. I think James Gunn has a way to do it even better because Marvel is fucking up the multiversal stuff. They're just getting a little crazy with it. But DC has a really thoughtful, like, to do it like Wolfman had intended with the multiple parallel Earths, right? And with that being said, this becomes a little bit more of a potential characters to draw on. You can definitely, um, in the comic books, Earth 2 Superman is definitely a huge presence as this sort of like, you know, uh, a multiversal character that finds his way into DC continuity consistently and constantly. So I could definitely see Kingdom Come characters, this timeline of characters coming into James Gunn's through whatever multiversal means. But am I saying it's going to happen? No, I'm saying there's a possibility that could happen. And it's not beyond the realms of imagination. It's actually a real possibility. But ultimately, it comes down to like what fans are wanting, what's going to hit with the kids, and what's going. To be honest, that Superman movie, as much as it was entertaining and fun, it wasn't really geared toward old school Superman fans because they just messed parts of the origin story up that have yet to be resolved. And I do think at its core, it's a bad avenue to go down. But we'll save that for another day. Overall, I enjoyed the movie. I think the movie's great, but again, it's not targeted at me, so I didn't take too much offense to it meeting my criteria. It was targeted at kids. It was targeted at family environment. It's targeted at really the mass market fans who probably don't understand the character, so you have to give them the good old Christopher Reeve, Richard Donner batch of just American chocolate chip homemade cookies, right? You just got to give them the homemade, not the Toll House shit, but the mixed real butter, milk and butter and real cane sugar fucking cookies. And that's what we're getting with the James Gunn version. So I'm glad he stayed true to that. And again, I would pick up this book just because it's a fucking badass book. It's Alex Ross's real introduction to DC, right? This was just his first DC artwork. And man, did he just hit it out of the park with this. And you got Power Girl on the back. You got all these you got what is that, medieval Green Lantern there. It's just full of all these that's just the kind of creepy back cover there. Everybody looks like they're ready to fucking kill you. But yeah, it's Kingdom Come, classic Alex Ross, Mark Waid comic book. I think this is a 6-parter, if I'm not wrong, or 4-parter. Maybe it's a 3-parter. I forget. It's not that long. But yeah, pick that one up for sure. All right, this one kind of falls into is it an investment book or is it a bubble? Is it a bubble book or is it a true investment book? And I want it to be an investment book, but my heart of hearts says it'll just be a perpetual, so right now you've got this book at $40. The true investment value of this book would have been to pick it up for $3 when before the movie and before all that stuff. Now I have 2 copies of this. One I picked up for $2, and one I picked up for $1.50. And the $1.50 I actually picked up this summer. So I really lucked out on getting this book at the investment grade, $1.50, $2 for this book in especially Dear Mint. This particular copy is a 9/8 all day, all night long. I mean, it's just fabulous. I don't know if you can tell. Let me just show you the spine there. Just clean, sharp, beautiful book. I'll show you the back. This is the back is darker, so if you get to see any, spine ticks or creasing or anything like that, you'd see it on the back there. And as you can see, just clean as a whistle. So yes, it's a $40 book now. So it's seen its initial spike. And this book is kind of going crazy on eBay with bids and, people just volumes of this book being posted and sold. And right now, I think we're at probably the height of its Superman price, like the movie launch price. Okay, so it shot up to a $40 book value, and then people have been kind of buying it and selling it at around that, under that price. And now that the movies come out and people love crypto, now it's kind of okay, $40 book. Yeah, let's see where it can go from here. And it's now kind of taking off on its next leg. And where it will land on its next leg all depends on how collectors really view this book. And right now, collectors are wanting this book pretty badly. Everyone I've talked to says, man, I want that crypto cover. It's just of the crypto covers and the crypto books out there. Obviously, the first appearance is the big one, but a fan favorite, again, $20 to $40 for this book is I think well within the means of so many collectors. And yeah, it's just a great cover. Look at he's looking buff. He's got the cape and the dog collar there. I mean, come on, this is the crypto that you want in your collection, and then you also just love the crypto that was in the movie. The misbehaving mutt. So yes, that is a book you want to target. Here is another book that I think, depending on the grade and how you pick it up, its book value is still very undervalued. Now, whether you can pick this book up for its book value, that in this current environment, that remains to be seen. But I'm sure you're going to be able to find this somewhere somehow. And if it's selling for 30, depending on the grade again, if it's a you know higher grade book and it's selling anywhere from 30 to $50, I would pick it up because I think this ultimately will be uh, a book that in high grade will command much higher than that. In fact, 233 in high grade goes for like five 500, maybe even $600. 233, that classic Neil Adams cover, like the one I have right there. That's the Neil Adams book everyone's targeting. But in terms of a second book that you'd want to pivot to along the Neil Adams lineage is definitely this Action Comics 419. Personally, I think this is Neil Adams' best Superman cover. I have a T-shirt of this. I see a lot of people, the comic book nerd heads. 22 Comics. I'm looking at you, man. I saw your Neil Adams T-shirt. I feel you, bro. Yeah, I mean that's the image, right? They just basically took this, put it on a T-shirt, and now the Old Navy's selling it a gajillion T-shirts. And Neil Adams, I hope he's getting some. I hope his family's getting some money for all that, but in all likelihood, maybe not. But yes, this is just an iconic cover. I would say more iconic than 233, but that's just my lowly opinion. But this is definitely a book you should have and pick up just for the artwork. That's Chris. This is the book. What I'm imagining is, and I have nothing to back me on this, but when I imagine Richard Donner sitting down, getting ready to write and direct Superman, and he's looking at the story and script and saying, what kind of character do I want to bring to life? I imagine Richard Donner went to the comic books and he picked out this book and he said, you know what? I want to do that Superman. This is the Superman I want to make a movie of. And that's ultimately what he did. He took Neil Adams' Superman and molded him and found an actor that could portray Neil Adams' Superman in Christopher Reeve. All right. This next one, I would say, is in terms of DCU spec. I'm talking about what we haven't seen in DCU teased or dropped or even hinted at. This is a book where if you read the tea leaves, if you see what's going on, you know it's coming. You know this is what we're going to get some form of this on the big screen. And I'm going to let you know what the book is and go out and get it. Only because whether the spec pays off or not, this is a great comic book. It's a classic modern book. It just beautifully plays the relationships between these two power couples, and it's just a very playful, very sort of emotionally, endearing episode between some of our favorite characters in the DC universe, and that is Batman, Catwoman, Superman, Lois. All right, let's use our real names. Bruce, Selina, Clark, and Lois on a double date. Okay. And I have my theories. I think in terms of there's a lot of comic book creators sort of playing advisory roles. DC writers, DC content people like Jim Lee's an advisor, Mark Waid is an advisor, Tom King is an advisor. along with, if you look at this Superman book, it's it's basically um, Jeff Johns, right, is a advisor on this, or sorry, Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison is an advisor on the Superman movie. Um, and so you've got all these like sort of DC creatives who are taking their comic books and they are giving their inputs on some of the basic themes, some of the basic, uh, character development points, the inter, you know, relationship dynamics of these characters, which is really important in this double date book, right? In this double date book, it's really establishing a friendship between Bruce and Clark. It's establishing relationships between their two loves, Lois for Superman, Selina for the Batman. And it's also introducing Lois and Selina, two very different women, about as opposite as you can get, but where they share a commonality is their love for a costume superhero, right? Their love, the love of their life, is best friends with the others. So it's one of those like kind of like, oh, I love my husband, so I got to get along with his best friend's girl, and so they go out on this date. And what you find are that Lois and Selena aren't that different, right? Through this book, they definitely hit it off. They get along. You know, they get it. They get the the part of being the second fiddle to the larger mission of their loves, right? The larger mission of their loves is to fight crime, fight evil, and they play second fiddle to that, but they're fine with it because they love their man. So boom, this is a book you should get for $3.99 or less, and then when what I propose happens, that's when you'll see the big jump. Okay, so get this now, get it cheap, get a high grade copy, and just sit on it because this double date, it's coming. The double date is coming. All right. So mark my words. James Gunn is all over that double date issue. With that being said, I think James Gunn is ultimately going to give us World's Finest, Mark Waid and Dan Mora's World's Finest type run. And in that, Superman, Batman are the central figures. They're teaming up. And, it's not a situation where Batman is like figuring everything out and Superman is just doing the legwork. No, it's like they're working together, and they're relying on each other's strengths. And really, Superman doesn't have many weaknesses, but if he does have any weaknesses, they're sort of uplifted by Batman's particular strengths. So it's like, they play a real complementary role to each other. And especially in World's Finest, Batman's definitely in the background. Batman's definitely he's looking through the data and doing all this stuff, and he lets Clark know, hey, this is what's going on. And he relies on Clark to do, again, the legwork, the infiltration, the sure the things that require the super speed, the super strength, the X-ray vision, the lifting of, breaking into, facilities or compounds with ease. That is what potentially we're looking at in terms of a World's Finest. And we are, I think, going to get a World's Finest movie, a standalone movie where there's no Wonder Woman, there's no Justice League. It's just Batman and Superman doing exactly what I just described, working together on a case, and really developing a close relationship and friendship. Okay, so that is coming. World's Finest is coming. And so, with that being said, I've got some World's Finest keys here that are worth your consideration. And these are not cheap books by any means, but I think they're still undervalued. Again, if you can get them for around, high grade for around $30 to $40, I still think these specific keys are going to be ones that will really spike when people realize, oh, you know what? I want more Superman, Batman, World's Finest goodness. And we've got World's Finest 154, the first appearance of the Super Sun and the Bat Sun. Beautiful Kurt Swan cover there. You want Composite Superman. Composite Superman was in the Wade Mora run. I think they just Green Lantern did something to them, and they fused and became sort of this like composite force. But of course, that wasn't the first time it was introduced. The first time it was introduced was in the pages of this book, World's Finest 142. That is your first appearance of Composite Superman. You get a list of his fucking powers right there. He's more than 20 superpowers: invulnerability, invisibility, mind reading. Come on, that seems almost unfair. Lightning bolts, computer mind. Who doesn't want a computer mind? Magnetism, elasticity, triplicate bodies. Triplicate bodies. That gives you a huge advantage right there. The triplicate bodies. So yes, that is some relatively. Now, okay, so Composite Superman is not a cheap book. Okay. Actually, sorry, I take that back. It is still a cheap book, but it's not like cheap. It's not like a $10 book. It's like a $40 book in high grade. Get it in high grade for $40 because that is insanely cheap compared to where this could go should they introduce Composite Superman. And even if they don't introduce Composite Superman, it's just a badass fucking concept of a character. You've got half Superman, half Batman in one fucking body. So I don't know, as a DC fan, I don't know what could be cooler than that. So it'll at least be a fan favorite. All right. This is the book where when I bought it, now I don't know how much you would be able to get this for. But I got it for $10. And at $10, this is definitely a steal. But this is the Batman slapping Robin comic book panel that's been famously turned into a meme, internet meme. And also it's like stupid good shit like this Kryptonite Batarang, right? It's just this classic cover. It's World's Finest. It's the, Dick Grayson slapping panel there, the world famous panel. So now this reached heights of like $1,000 during its kind of frenzied meme book targeting. And it's still a fan favorite. A lot of fans still target this book because of that panel. So I don't really have good guidance on how much you should put this book up for. But I imagine because of all the attention now being shifted toward DC books again, this is starting to climb. So it's kind of one of the situations when the news of World's Finest breaks, which it kind of is being teased, it hasn't broken yet. But when it does break, and you have literally the movie is called World's Finest, people are going to be flocking to this book. And again, World's Finest 153. I would just say if you can get it cheap or what you think will be its ultimate, like below where it will land ultimately, then I'd say pick it up. But don't go FOMO full on. I got to get the book. and just bid up an auction to try and get it. Don't do that, because I think um, that's not really an investment grade at that point. It's you just literally paid market value for the book. So remember, we want to think about what the market value will be over, a 10-year period, where it will land, and where it will maintain and hold its value. And right now, again, this is selling for 300 in high grade. If you can get 300 in high grade, do it, because I don't think it will remain there. I think it has a lot of room to grow. In fact, I'm very excited to see where this $10 book will ultimately end up. But I would say right now, this $10 book in this grade is probably closer to a $50 book or a $100 book, in my view. All right. Well, we've gone through a lot of books, and we've got a couple big bangers left. So I'm just going to show off what I think has lots of legs to run in terms of value, and we'll see if you guys agree or not. So this next one is just, I think, along the lines with my thinking of World's Finest. This is just a fun, silly, sort of collector's favorite cover. It's really the first cover these four characters appear together. And, this is sort of like Batman family meets Superman family. You got Batman and Superman, and you also have a team up between Supergirl and Batgirl. And again, during this period of comic books, the Silver Age, Batgirl and Kara Zor-El, Supergirl, they were just welcome additions to the DC, universe. They had big, splashy first appearances in the Silver Age, and their popularity just carried them through, and now they're just part of the lore of DC. And this is just a classic cover, fun cover. I think a lot of people, and then again, this isn't really highly valued. I'd say if you get this book in high grade for under $100, pick it up. I think ultimately this one has a lot of legs, just because, come on, Superman, Batman changing tires on the Batmobile, right? It's just good stuff right there. So yes, one that has a lot of potential. This one, I think, has the potential to be one of the most highly sought out books, especially in high grade. I do not have a high grade book, but if you have this in high grade, like in a 9.4 or above, I imagine this book has a lot of legs, and that is the first appearance of Nightwing. The first appearance of Nightwing is super undervalued in my opinion right now, because I really think Nightwing has the potential in the DCU to be one of those, enter the fray of the Trinity in terms of popularity. Meaning, like, you normally have like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, right? Those are the core three. But I honestly think you could almost take out Batman. If you were to kill Batman, a good solid replacement for Batman would be Nightwing, right? Everybody, I think, agrees on that. You essentially have a better trained athlete slash gymnast slash fighter in Dick Grayson. And I think ultimately Dick is a very good detective as well. He's trained by the best. So you got pretty much like this younger version of Batman who's more agile and athletic. So again, this is a huge, the Judas Contract is really the end of a huge story arc for this New Teen Titans run, and this is a big issue because of the suit reveal. This is where Jericho kind of comes onto the scene and helps Nightwing infiltrate and save his friends. So again, big first appearance issue, but all in all, still undervalued. When you're looking at a big first appearance like Nightwing, and it's about only $100 book in high grade, um, I think potentially you have this in high grade being at least 5 times what it's going for now at the end of the day. Again, when DCU introduces Nightwing and all the, when people are targeting this book and being very intentional with driving up the value of this book, you will see that. So, first Nightwing, definitely a book to target. This one is also spiking right now as a top book because we are getting a Deathstroke Bane movie. It's not a TV, it's a movie. And I'm just curious as to how they're going to do this. I'm really curious. But it's a standalone Bane and Deathstroke team up movie. And it's going to be, again, we got a great depiction of Bane with Tom Hardy through Christopher Nolan's third installment. But we haven't seen anything since. And as great as Christopher Nolan's Bane was, I don't think it was the Bane from what we were introduced to in the pages of the comic book. That 90s version of Bane is much more terrifying and much more unhinged and much more menacing and powerful. And that's, again, the fact that he's on this, like, what is it? I think it's called Bane juice or something like that. It's basically like a super serum. And Bane, I would target that for sure. It's $100 book right now, but if you want to talk about a character that's still been underutilized in the larger scheme of DC things as one of Batman's main villains, he still has a lot. I mean, he's being utilized quite proficiently in the comic books, but in terms of live action content, we've only really seen one version of him. And again, I think the fact that Bane is doing a standalone series on those two characters means he's being very intentional with developing them as characters and then setting them up for some kind of big showdown with his heroes. All right, we're going to end with some of my favorite DC cover art. These are also big books in their own rights, but these are definitely iconic covers and books that I would target irregardless of movie spec. This is just a book that's going to be a collector's favorite, always retain its value. It might not go up either it might not go up as high as you would hope, and hopefully you don't pick up these books for too elevated a value. But I think if you can get these books right around the $20 or less mark, you will have made out. And what we have are Justice League of America 190, beautiful Starro takes over the world and the Justice League right there. Just love that. And then it's really creepy. It looks like, initially it looks kind of funny, but until you like really look out and realize, damn, there's no one to stop Starro. And then you have this really poignant cover of Superman lamenting the loss of his cousin. And again, beautifully illustrated there by George Perez. This was a huge a huge turning point for DC. Uh, I mean, yeah, I mean, Perez captures the solemn moment perfectly here with the two Kryptonians at the forefront and the entire DC, superhero fucking like library of characters from all the ages, right? I'm sure like Sergeant Fury and Commandy and the Middlemen are in the background there somewhere. They're just all this like fucking heroes in this in the background, all just silent and mourning and feeling Superman's pain and loss. What an amazing book. And I gotta say, I was very intentional with my plan when I heard Marv Wolfman was coming here to sign books in my area. I said, you know what? I am going to pay, I think I paid close to like 70, $80 for this George Perez signed copy of Crisis on Infinite Earths. And then I took that book and got Marv Wolfman's signature, and he signed right there in the 50th anniversary DC logo. And man, does that feel like a big book? It's double signed, Wolfman Perez. Goodness, right there. This is a book you can just bury me with, right? I'll just take this book with me to the grave. It's not going anywhere. It will just, I'll have it up in heaven with me to just admire and put on my heavenly bookshelf and admire and all that. So there you go. Those are my investment pick comic books. All right, let's see what do you? We got Gordon here chatting us up. Yes, is it signed by Alex Ross? Don't know. And use a big Mylar bag. Yeah, I'm not going to open up. If you're talking about the thing is like that, the book, the Kingdom Come book. Yes, don't open it. Don't read it. Right? If it's hasn't been opened, you definitely just want to preserve it. But again, that is a hard book to find pristine. It's just got to be like a collector's copy, and there's just not a lot of collector's copies out there because I think the love that people have for Alex Ross, it's only really been recent that people are kind of like understanding how much of a powerful influence Ross's art, particularly his DC works, right? How powerfully representative they are to the brand and lore of these characters. I think Alex Ross understands them better than most DC fans, and it really, plays out in his cover work and in his designs and his thoughtful scenarios and situations he puts his characters in. So, yes, I think any kind of Alex Ross iconic type art is another thing you could target. And again, has legs just to move. I think some of the artists from DC that you will want to target are, like I mentioned, Neil Adams, Jim Lee, John Byrne, Michael Turner, George Perez. Am I missing someone? Who was I just mentioning? Brian Ballin, right? And Alex Ross, right? These guys, these are some DC legends. They've got a lot of books in that continuity, and just targeting those artists alone, if you're targeting like just really memorable, key, iconic covers by those artists, I think that isn't really it's really a good investment strategy to just focus on artists too. Uh, what size bag is that? Yeah, I'm assuming you are talking about the uh, Kingdom Come book. The Kingdom Come Mylar, it was a Golden Age Mylar book, so that fits Golden Age to modern. Yes, for Kingdom Come. Crime Syndicate is an investment book. I would agree. Yes, I would agree. Crime Syndicate is an investment book, so um, definitely. I think anytime you have, like I said, a number, if you have first appearances, like first key appearances of key characters. There's a lot of first appearances of just like weird, wacky characters, and again, you can go after those. I think there's no real risk of getting some of those books because those aren't really. They're just they're dollar bin, books, maybe $3 in terms of their book value. But you're talking about $1 to $3 like buy-in, right? And if it gets on screen, or if it hits, or joins the zeitgeist of characters that the mass, the mass audience has an introduction to and engages with well, then yes, by all means, that one $3 investment is now suddenly a $50 book, potentially more. So that's not a bad strategy to take. Just pick up a lot of like key characters, or sorry, key first appearances of weird and wacky and random characters. But I would try to focus more on books like this, where they're modern books and they're relatively still affordable. And again, when these have, obviously a longer half life in terms of its uh, utility in the DCU and beyond, right? We're not just talking decade, we're talking like all the different generations and cycles. Once we establish characters like this, they're really hard to get rid of. They stay, it's kind of like Joker, right? It's just they're going to stay relevant, and we'll want to see them from time to time. So I think we're ripe for vengeance of Bane, and we're ripe for a fucking Robin. I mean, we haven't had a legitimate Robin yet. And I know there's the Chris Pine Robin. It was what, George Clooney and Chris Pine Robin. What was his name? Chris Pine? No, that wasn't his name. Anyway, you guys tell me in the chat. There was that Robin there, and it was so bad. It's not even worth mentioning that would count as Robin. There's obviously the TV Burt Ward Robin. That's sort of the more classical, Silver Age portrayal of that character. That's campy, classic, legendary goodness right there. The '60s Adam West. What's Alex? Oh, sorry. Adam West and Burt Ward. That's the dude's name. Robin. Burt Ward. That's the classic Robin character, right? And again, it's hard to break that image of the boy wonder, but this is where I think you get that. You finally get Robin coming into his own and being his own character, and further future iterations of Robin would fall into other kind of newer characters, and the original Robin would go on and become a character of his own. So there you go. All right. So again, all these books I think are still undervalued, have lots of legs to run. But if I was a betting man, I would target this book. Of all the things I just showed off to you, I would target this book first and foremost, because I just first off, um, this is a fan favorite. Okay, this is a fan favorite. It's sort of an undisclosed fan favorite. Like meaning, like if you were to just say, hey, what kind of books do you have in your collection? Oh, I have this one. Oh, I have that one too. Oh, I have that one too. It's like everybody would chime in and say, I have this one, because it's just such a great freaking comic book. Um, in fact, when I first read this, I don't read too many modern comic books because the modern comic books, um, they're just hard to keep up with sometimes because the characters have come so far, so long, and it's just you kind of have to rebuild all these connections in the modern books just to understand them. Some of the connections uh, that's the sort of the I guess the hazard of being into comic books when you're young and then coming back to comic books when you're older is that um, so much has happened. Some of it is continuity, some of it is just like this and that, but the characters all have different other supporting characters during that time, during that transition, and the main characters themselves have a lot of uh, you know incidents and histories and things happen to them that um, maybe alter their classic uh, portrayal. And and then sometimes you have that explored, but then it goes back to a classic representation of the character. So it really all depends, right? You just get so many different iterations, writers experimenting with this, and then other writers resetting it and going back to what people like and are used to. So you have a lot of people taking chances, taking risks with certain stories, certain character developments. But if it's something the fans don't like, then yeah, DC just kind of pushes the reset button and they create something else that people will be on board with. So I love the flexibility there in terms of like this is an Elseworld story or this is sort of a test story until like, oh, people like it. All right, we'll just continue to drag this on until no one buys the comic book anymore. And that's sort of the formulaic way to kind of produce books. Right now, Superman the movie is I think the hottest movie, the most popular movie out right now. I anticipate it will set a bigger week 2 box office than week 1. That's my prediction. Hey Christina, what's up? So yeah, when it has a big week 2, it's already set a record week this week for weekday performance in the year. I think week 2 is going to just build upon what we saw in week 1, and who knows what'll happen week 3. But again, I think you're just starting to see the start of like this real uh, cultural reemergence of Superman as uh, an American superhero figure, the American superhero figure. Okay, so yeah, I'm enjoying it. I love this new reality that we're living in. This is the reality I was hoping for all those years when I got back into collecting, and I was just like, everybody's talking about Marvel. No one cares about Superman. People are hating on him just rather vehemently on the internet. You got DC people saying, yeah, more always it's been like DC fans even are saying, yeah, I've always liked Batman with Superman, blah blah blah, and for it to flip on its head, and now you have little kids wanting to go see Superman, wanting to buy the kryptonite or the crypto and the Superman toys, and now you've got a generation of young kids now excited about DC content, these Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern. All these characters are now they're now the the things that little kids want to see, the things that kids want to play and pretend to be on the playground. So I just love it. I love what Gunn has done, this new reality, this huge market, audience segment that's shifted its preference now, and you know basically renewed its focus on the Man of Steel. With that being said, I'm going to wish you all adieu. I do want to make a quick announcement before I leave. I told you I'm meeting up with Josh tomorrow, my local comic book friend. We're going to meet up tomorrow, have lunch, maybe trade some books. I'm going to give him some books, and he's going to give me some books, and we're going to try to trade and do as much. I'll likely, I'll just probably give him all the stuff he wants, as long as I get like a couple of books that he has that I would want. I think, that's a good trade for me right there. As long as he has something. A lot of this stuff here is just my overflow stuff I'm trying to get rid of anyway. So if he wants to take it all, I'm more than happy to give it to him, just for one really solid book that I'm looking for. And I'm more than the only issue is he is a DC collector, so I don't know how much. I think he has a lot of DC that he's not, or he's read, and that he's wanting to purge and bring in space to bring in new books. So that's a good thing. But I imagine he and I are maybe focused on similar things, but I don't know specifically what he's looking for. He just kind of keeps it vague each time. He's just like, I love, DC. I think he doesn't like the was it the JSA stuff or the JLA stuff? It's one of those two. Yeah, the JSA stuff is, if we're looking at the Alex Ross run on JSA, I didn't read it. I don't know particularly many details around it, but I would imagine that is kind of where Gunn may head as well. It's like, Mr. Terrific is in that particular storyline, and there's a lot of similar characters. It's just that JSA, you got a different group of characters there. You got Power Girl, you got a different set of it'll just be interesting. We don't know where we're going to land. I don't want to speculate too much, but I don't know. I just feel like JSA might be not where Gunn wants to head, but something even more profoundly divergent, different from what we would expect. And maybe he'll go traditional. I think he might go traditional, Saturday morning cartoon traditional, or he might just go off the deep end and do something that no one's ever seen. So either way, it is a wait and see. And I think, again, fans like me, collectors like us are probably just waiting. We're just waiting to be tintillated and entertained by whatever Gunn has in store. In Gunn we trust, as we say. In Gunn we trust. All right. Good night. I'll see you tomorrow, Josh. When I'll give you a text when I drive up. But everybody have a fantastic weekend, and don't forget, tomorrow night, Fanboy Prime and I are going live. We're going to be discussing I'm going to be bringing up some of the topics I discussed here tonight in terms of my spec. I'm sure I'll gonna bring that up, but I don't know if we're going to focus on books or just talk fan theories or our thoughts on what we would like to see. But we're definitely going to talk the movie. We're definitely going to share our impressions of the movie and go from there. All right. See you in the next one. Peace out, everybody.